Hello. If you're easily offended or don't want to hear about politics, then don't watch this video. I will talk for a couple of minutes on my feelings about the EU referendum. So yeah, switch off now if you're easily offended. I will be speaking my mind totally. I haven't had any sleep. It's like 8:30 a.m. Been up all night. Okay, right, so, those of you still here, well, shit, that was fucking wank, wasn't it? Unbelievable, unfucking believable. Trump, in America, I always felt, when Trump decided that he was going to run for presidency, that at some point, everybody would kind of go, okay, it's getting a bit real now. Okay, let's stop having a laugh. We'll, vote for a proper president. Okay, and I kind of I did feel that way, and I kind of felt that way about this, referendum. I thought, people are talking about wanting to be separate, but leaving the EU, all that stuff, and I thought when push comes to shove, and you actually have to put your little cross in your paper, you're gonna go, okay, we're probably better off staying. And holy fuck was I wrong. I cannot believe that the British public has voted to leave the EU. It's fucking ridiculous. The two main, the Leave and the Remain people both sides have been spouting propaganda and bullshit. Equally so. I think that it's a horrible way of doing it because it's so hard to find out the facts, wasn't it? I think everyone will agree, whether you voted to remain or voted to leave or didn't vote at all, it's very confusing, the facts, and you really have to get past the leaflets and the posters and the little ads and stuff like that and actually look into the details of this shit. And once you do that, you just see there is no fucking benefit to leaving the EU. Like, let's say, the biggest thing question was from the Leavers was yeah, but it won't affect our trade with the EU, we'll still have the good trade with the EU. Okay, so you're saying at the very best, the best possible outcome would be it stays the same. Amazing. That's the best case scenario, is that we have the same amount of trade with the EU. It's not an improvement, it doesn't do anything else. People saying that laws are being made in Brussels, well, 99% of these are pathetic, silly laws, like how long a linen thread should be on a pillow and stuff like that. And the fact is, they're pathetic little laws, and yet, if we want to trade with the EU, we have to abide by those laws if we want to sell pillows to the Europe anyway. So it doesn't... another argument. Too much red tape in Europe. Fuck me, we've just built 1 million miles more of red tape to go through to sort this shit out. Next point. Looks like we're going to have fucking Boris Johnson as our next Prime Minister. Boris fucking Johnson. Absolutely ridiculous. It's the Donald Trump of the UK. He is favourite now to become Prime Minister since Cameron resigned, which he kind of had to. He flopped his cock out, laid it on the line, and lost. Fair enough. Whatever you think of Cameron, that's the right thing to do. He can't be the one negotiating leaving the EU when he was the one saying that we should stay. It makes no sense. So that's fair enough. That had to happen. But George Cameron, who's the Chancellor, will also resign because he was backing him up all the way. He was also pro-Remain and everything like that. So the major candidates for staying, the major candidates to take over the Prime Ministership from Cameron in the Conservatives are fucking Boris Johnson and Theresa May. And if you think that is remotely a good idea, then you're sorely, sorely mistaken. People are saying, well, one thing I noticed, I was on Twitter through the evening and stuff, people talking about it, and it's all quite good and interesting and stuff like that. People made various good points, both sides and stuff like that, right? When it was announced that it was clearly that we were going to lose, we were going to leave the EU, weirdly, there was no one celebrating the fact that they'd won the vote. I think booed, fair enough to him, put some little flags up and said, "Good morning, Britain, I know he was a vote out." Sorry to call you out, but you did say that in public, so I hope I'm not offending you. And fair enough. But no, the mass hysteria was because of, "Oh my shit, what have we done?" on Twitter. That was the overarching storyline of Twitter today, because it's ridiculous. By voting out, you're, rather than voting to stay in and being secure and healthy and having a decent economy and stuff, you're going, "I'm going to pick the lucky dip future." And the few people that are saying that it's still a good thing are going, "Oh yeah, but down the line, in a few years to come, it'll work out better in the long run." Well, that you're totally guessing. You have no idea if that's better in the long run. Right now, we are absolutely fucked. The pound dropped in value massively, the highest drop in 30 odd years or something like that. The value of the pound, it's the stock market is just fallen off a fucking cliff. That affects everything. Even if it was fixed next week, that's still a mini recession, like an instant recession, right? So, yeah, we might be better off in the long run, and I hope to God that's the case. But that's just a pure guess. It's the same reason I guess you voted leave in the first place, because you prefer the lucky random future as opposed to the safe secure future. And I thought the whole point of Europe, it's got many flaws, but the whole point of Europe was to get these big countries together, and slowly and gradually, what we've been doing since like the Second World War is trying to make this earth like one place where we all get along. But we're going fucking backward, and this is going to cause a massive knock-on effect. Holland, France are already talking about having referendums of their own. The EU will dismantle in the next 10 years. There's going to be multiple countries leaving. So even if you thought it was a good idea purely for the UK to leave the EU, the fact that the rest of the EU is totally unstabilised will mess with our economy hugely, and not in a good way. It's going to fuck up everything. When I heard about that there was going to be a referendum, my gut feeling was, yep, vote in. Right, I think we should stay. It makes sense to stay. Yes, stuff needs fixing in the EU, but you're better off being in the inside where you can actually have some effect on it and help change rules like Cameron's been doing the last couple of months and fix it. If you're on the outside, you can't do anything. So that was my feeling. And then I did a ton of research. I watched all the debates. I watched lots of the programmes and documentaries and news and all that stuff to inform myself more. And with every bit of information that I watched, I was more certain that we had to stay in. There was no benefit whatsoever of leaving apart from the mystery future element, where the UK wins the Euro Millions every day and stuff like that. And the scary thing is, within an hour of the leave vote being announced that we're going to leave the EU, Farage goes on fucking national telly. The single biggest tagline of the vote leave campaign was that we are sending £350 million a week to the European Union just to sort of be part of the European Union. We would spend that money on the NHS. That was their big promise. That was like, I can see the benefits of that, of course. They don't take into account all the money we get back, the fact that about 75% of all the farmer payments help the farmers out, and all this money that we get back in rebates and grants and help and all that stuff. Even if it was 350 million, it's like, compared to our GDP, that's like a tiny, tiny amount. Right? It sounds a big number, but it's really not. Then he comes on national telly half an hour after winning and says, "Oh, yeah, that was probably a mistake saying that we were going to spend that £350 million on the NHS because, we're not." Says it all. Fucking says... just fucking unbelievable. And Farage is coming out saying this, it should be declared our Independence Day. Why are we celebrating becoming independent? We should be celebrating coming together as a group of nations to work and do better things in this fucking world, not celebrating splitting apart. And my next point is the fact that instantly, because Scotland had a much higher majority of people wanting to stay, they now want a referendum to leave the UK so they can fuck off back to EU, which is fair enough on their part. I don't blame them at all. I'm thinking of moving to Scotland and getting a funny accent. Right? So not only has we left the EU, now the whole UK splitting up. Not just Scotland, Northern Ireland and Ireland. Right? I live in Northern Ireland, okay? I've seen some of the shit that goes down in this country and the shit that they've had to put up with over the years. And now suddenly, where we had an open border, Northern Ireland is in the UK, Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is in the EU, and a nice open border. Now suddenly everybody's going, well, do we need border controls now? And now suddenly the Sinn Féin and other Northern Irish political groups are coming out and saying, well, maybe we should leave the UK and unite Ireland. So the other countries around us have realised, shit, yeah, we're better off being in the EU. So not only have we left the EU, now it looks like we're going to split up the UK and also irreparably damage the European Union, because now other countries are going to go, well, you know, we don't want to be here. We were one of the stronger nations. I think we were third or fourth strongest nation in the EU, right? So, you know, you've got the Germany, who's the big daddy, and then you've got the likes of Spain and Portugal and Republic of Ireland, have all had to been bailed out and struggled over the years. But if the stronger countries leave the EU, then that'll just encourage more of the stronger countries just to leave the EU, because they're going to go, well, no, I don't want to fucking prop up Republic of Ireland and Greece on my own. I'm out of here. So the EU is going to collapse in the next 10 years. And anybody that thinks that's a good thing is just, you're off your fucking head. I'm flabbergasted. I can't quite believe what the nation has done today. And like I said at the beginning of this, right, I can understand most people aren't into politics in any way, shape or form, and I can totally understand that because it's boring as shit most of the time, right? And I can see how people would get swayed by the propaganda of both sides. Most people went into this decision not really having a clue, and then you get leaflets through the doors, you get ad campaigns, you get bullshit spouted at you from both sides. So I don't blame anyone in particular, any one person, for thinking vote leave is good. Apart from just the racists who just want, you know, no immigration in this country, blah-de-blah-de-blah, all that sort of stuff. The sort of like hidden racists people that pretend it's about something else, but that's kind of in reality what it is. I'm all for, limiting immigration. I think that makes total sense. I think every country should do that. You can't just say, because we're a little country, and so we have to calm down. But if you think that leaving the EU means we can just then close our borders, then you've got another fucking thing coming. Because if we want to continue to deal with the EU in any sort of business sense, then we have to abide by certain laws. One of which is you can't just shut up shop. You have to help out other people. So we're still going to have to do that. So if that was why you were voting for it, then you're mistaken. But like I said, unless you go and dig into the detail, you don't really discover this shit, and you can get swayed either way by the fucking propaganda machines on both sides. Like I said at the beginning, both just as bad as each other. I think it's a sad day, to be honest. I'm massively disappointed. I'm massively overtired. I was going to say I apologise if I offended anyone. I don't apologise. I told you at the beginning, this is how I feel. This is my thoughts. Everyone is welcome to their thoughts. Free country and all that, right? So, yeah. So, 3 months' time when Boris Johnson's in charge and we're in a recession and we've got a million more miles of red tape to go through before we have to deal with European countries and stuff like that, and the pound is in a weak position, then sadly, I would love to say I told you so, but it affects everyone, so I didn't really win, and just saying I told you so is pretty cheap and meaningless when it's going to screw me over as well. So I pray to God that those people, those optimistic people that took the punt and hoped and guessed that down in the long run we'll be better off, I fucking hope you are right, because that would be amazing, and I will hold my hands up at that stage. But none of you who did vote to leave knew or had even a best guess idea or like an understanding that we would be better off in the long run. You're guessing, you're hoping that we will be better off in the long run, and that is not a good reason to leave. It's not always a case of the grass is always greener on the other side. Sometimes there's a puddle of piss and shit on the other side. Right, I just needed to get that out of my chest. I know it's not my normal video, but I'm very tired. I've been up for like 24 hours, and I just wanted to say shit before I went to bed. So I hope you understand. You can. I'm more than happy for you to leave comments with your thoughts on the whole subject. I'm not going to get in a debate, because we could be there forever, and I don't want to fall out with people and stuff. This is my thoughts. You're welcome to leave your own thoughts in the comments, but I don't want anybody arguing with that other person's thoughts. We are all welcome to our own feelings and thoughts. Like I said, I could be totally wrong, and I'm hoping I am. And everybody could be right or wrong. Doesn't matter. You're welcome to your thoughts. And like I said, I don't blame anyone for voting leave or voting stay. I think politicians fucked up. And rather than trying to give us facts and a fair information so we can make up our mind, they went into full sort of propaganda bullshit mode on both sides, and that kind of sucks, really. So yeah, thank you very much for listening to my rant. I was going to do it as part of my Football Manager, but I thought that's unfair to people that, some guy from Spain's like, what the fuck is this guy going on about? Yeah, so I just thought I'd keep it as a separate video, and then you can choose to watch it or not. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. I love you all very much. Let's hope it all works out. Oh, good. I'm looking at the telly, and Boris Johnson is expected to speak shortly. Good. Great. I love you all very much. Bye-bye.